Hello to all you Cypher mains out there. Hope you wonderful people are having a great day. And in this video, I'll show you really good Cypher setups on the map Split. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Let us start off with the first Cypher setup for B site. This setup is used to play against teams that stage wall themselves on the site, since the wall's right here. You would come here, you would place a cam here. I know it is common, but you can just shift the camera to a side a bit and they won't pre-fire it. For the tripwires, I come here, I place one trip right here, goes across garage, should catch someone since they usually pre-fire here, it usually catches one. For the other tripwire, I come down to this line right here, look at this slit and you should see a placeable tripwire right here. So for the cyber cages, you would come to the middle of this door right here, turn to the right and you should see this intersection between this plank and this wooden slit thingy, and you would place your cyber cages there. And as you can see, the cyber cage covers the entirety of garage. So for the next cyber cage, I just placed one right here just to help me get out. So how I would play this setup is I would sit here. I'm usually a Vandal player, not a Phantom player, but it would be better if you use the Phantom since it has no traces and they can't just fire at you through the cage. So I would just stand behind here, look at my cam, see if anyone's garage. If anyone's garage, activate this cage, shoot through, back out. If they activate my trip, that is, back out even more, play from here. And your job is just to check your cam again. Once they're here, activate this cage, and if they get detected by the tripwire, shoot it and then just come out. So that's how you play the first setup. Here's a second setup as Cypher. It's an alternative to the first setup to play against Sage Wall execs at B site. You would place your camera right here. It has a good sightline into garage and people coming out of garage. So the tripwire I like to place is almost along the lines of the first tripwire that we placed in the first setup. You would come here, place a tripwire right here if the game would allow me to place a tripwire, thank you. And you would come to the same slit as the same area as the second tripwire on the first setup and place one right here, place a cyber cage right here, and we want to play the one way, so we'd head over to the doorway, look at the darkened pixel, look at the intersection and throw your cage. And like we saw, the cage covers the entirety of garage. So how I would play this setup is hide behind the same wall as the first setup, look into your cam, anyone who comes close to here, activate the cage, shoot, gun him down, come back. So this tripwire, you would, since you don't have a good sightline on it, since when you peek you're exposed to the rest of garage, that tripwire is kind of for your teammate in B heaven to get that pick if they get stuck on the tripwire. And you would play the second tripwire how you did in the first setup, play deep, activate cage if they're close, gun them down, come back and play your life in CT. So that's how I would play the second setup. Let us see the third setup as Cypher. This setup is usually used to play against teams that don't sage execute themselves onto the B site. So the camera that I like to use is you come over to this box right here and you place a cam here. Why this camera is good is it initially can't get shot when attackers are pushing through garage, even though they can hear it. Nobody's going to do a 180 just to get your cam, because since there's no sage wall, they'll be exposed to heaven and backside here. Even though you won't be playing backside, you will be playing here. So a tripwire I like to use is this tripwire right here, along with the cage right here, just to protect yourself. And if anyone gets caught by this tripwire, you can just wall bang them through this box, or you can just cage, peek out, kill them, or you can just normally peek out and kill them. For the site, I like to place this tripwire along with a cage here. And the cage here is important right on that mark, is because when you activate it, you're not exposed to any like weird sightline from backside, and you can just gun them down if they get caught in your tripwire, or you can use it as a get out of jail free card and just escape onto CT and play your life. And you can just hop onto your camera, give your information to your teammates, and they can do the rest for you, and you can slowly pinch from CT once they're on site. And to find out when to kill this guy, you would just hop on your cam, see if he's walking close, activate a cage. If he gets caught, you can just activate your cage and then kill him. Another tripwire I forgot to mention in the main part of the video in the B side setup is this tripwire right here. You come to this area, you look at this tree sapling, or sorry, tree branch, and you place this tripwire. In this setup, I have a Cybercade setup for the one-way for garage. This tripwire right here, along with this new tree wire, and both of these tripwires can be played off this Cybercade right here. So what I would normally do in this setup is play behind this or that, depending on previous rounds. I'll check my camera to see if they're pushing up. Activate the one way, shoot them the one way, back out, plate from CT, and if they ever get detected by any of these two trips, I cage to protect myself, and then gun them down, and then back out and see what happens after that. So that's how I would play this setup. Let's head over to Cypher Setups on B Heaven. Since B Heaven is a really small place to place tripwires in, it is pretty hard to find a lot of variation, but this is the best I could find. So you would want to go here, hug this back wall, look straight up, just walk to the left a bit till you're aligned with this pipe right here, this gray pipe right here in the middle. Then you want to crouch, aim right past this discoloration in this pipe or hanger or whatever, and you would throw your cage like so. Sorry, I missed the first one. You throw your cage like so, and then head over here, head over to the middle of this. You can only do this tripwire after the biphase is over. I need to be really quick. Head over to the middle of the pillar there, look at this protrusion here, aim at the middle of the white thing to the right, and your cage should line like that, and you should be able to play a one-way here in male, and then if they come up, you should be able to play this one-way here. You can barely see, the same goes for them, and then you can just back out quickly. For trip wires, to know when to activate this trip, I usually like to place a trip here. It obviously can't be crouched. If they jump, you can hear the audio cue, so you're fine with that. And the second tripwire I like to place is here, if it lets me place it. This tripwire. If you don't like the male one, or if you don't like this one way, which is covers mid, and since you haven't practiced it a lot, you can just come here and place a cyber cage here. So you can just you can cam here if you want to see if they're going to come up male. If you don't like that cam and if you want to be really aggressive, you can place a cam right here, looks into anyone coming male. But like I said, this camera is just covers male, doesn't do a lot, so I usually like to place this cam, which looks kinda into male and gets complete picture of B Heaven. Or if you want to keep eyes on garage, you can place a cam here. Oh, whoops, sorry. You can place a cam right here. It looks into male and also looks into garage, which kind of varies from the second Cypher setup I showed for B side, but it's still really good. So to play the setup, I place the cyber cage as soon as the biphase goes down, come back, play a bit reserved here. As soon as my teammate in vents tells me there's a guy mid, or if I hear audio cue mid that they're pushing, activate this male one, shoot through, back out, hold from here. Since I have my cam usually here, I see if they're up male, or if my tripwire gets destroyed or they get stuck on the tripwire. I know I have to be ready to activate my cage. Within 1 or 2 seconds I activate my cage, shoot this guy, kill him, back out. If their mid presence is too much and I haven't placed this cage, I can just place this tripwire with this cage, and as soon as I feel like there's going to be a lot of people coming up, activate this cage, head back, play from here, and if they get caught by my trip, I can peek to get a kill, or I can like just peek this much and just wall bang them. And yeah, that's how you play this setup. Let's move over to setups in A Heaven. A Heaven, being a very narrow pathway, doesn't offer a ton of variations, and the only one way that was there for Heaven has been patched. So the cameras I like to use is this really nice cam. Makes you look into ramps a bit and also covers this narrow pathway of people entering into Heaven. The second camera I like to use is really passive but gives you complete view of Heaven and vents, which is right here, this cam. And the other cam that I like to use is up here, right past this square light thingy, You can see a bit of A main, and you can kind of see the legs of people entering through ramps before they see your cam, as they can only see your cam once they cross this line right here. So that's pretty much all the cameras for A heaven. For tripwires, I like to place this tripwire paired with this cage. The other tripwire like to do is this low tripwire. Also, sometimes I pair it with a higher tripwire, along with maybe a trip for vents. So I usually play like this. I hold a cage just in case I need to cage out. So I usually play this setup or so, and I stick. Okay, let's just say I have this cam. So I sit behind this, check if anyone's coming up ramps. If they're coming up ramps, if they like reach here or so, they still can't sense my trip, so they won't know. So once they come here, I tag them, activate the cage, wall bang, and not wall bang, just spray through. And also this wall is wall bangable, so it's kind of good to know how far it ends, so you always know till where to wall bang, because no one really hides on this side, and everyone hides on this, but they keep forgetting that this is wall bangable. So that's pretty much all the wires slash cages slash cameras for A heaven. Moving on to Cypher setups on the A side. A side is a side where I think Cypher does really well because it offers them a ton of variations and a ton of good cameras. So the camera that I like to use is you step on the slope right here from A heaven and you place your cam on this edge of the wall. You can see into A main or T base to see if they want to attack A at all. But the problem with this camera is that it's overly exposed and you can kind of see it from T-base and you can shoot it out, and a Cypher without a cam is almost useless. The second camera I like to use is the reserve variation of it. You just place a cam here. You can use it for retakes, it is pretty nice. You can see people coming out of A main, going to hell, pushing you backside, and you have complete visibility of sight. The other camera I like to use is right here. You have to jump off and place a cam right there. Sometimes if you place it correctly, you can see into T-base a little bit to see if they want to attack A or not, and it offers the functionality of the other cameras pretty much, with the visibility of sight, pushing from A main to hell to backside, etc. Another cam that I like to use if they end up catching on to my cam locations being there or somewhere around there is this cam right here. You step to this cardboard edge, look at the metal barrier and place it. It is covered by metal barrier, so people don't really recognize that there's a cam there, and it can only be shot out from A main. So when you go to your cam, it should look something like this. You can see people cross into A ramps, you can see people coming to site, and if your team ends up losing A heaven, you have visibility on it, and you ever need visibility on screens, you have it just by turning around. The only problem with this cam is it doesn't really get much of sight. Not much of sight, it barely gets sight. Another cam that I like to use is from screens. You jump from the pathway of screens onto here and you can see people coming to A main and crossing A ramps, but the only problem with this camera is you can't see sight nor can you tag. Moving on to tripwires on A side, there is the default A tripwire, which is right here. Another variation to that tripwire is this right here, and if you don't like this tripwire and they end up using this and the opponent team just ends up coming hell and then shoots your tripwire, or a clear sight and then decides to shoot your tripwire, an alternative, not an alternative, well, the tripwire for hell would be you come to this corner of this slope right here, go to your tripwire, not your cam, and you should see this placeable tripwire which covers from this slope towards hell. So anyone that tries to cross hell will be detected by that tripwire, and if they end up jumping it, well, you have this normal hell tripwire denying them hell. And if they ever get detected by those tripwires, you can just peek out of backside and kill them. If you're worried about people coming from backside towards elbow, you have this tripwire right here, or if you want to normalize your tripwires, you can just place a tripwire right here. Both of them offer the same purpose. The tripwires on site are these two tripwires, which are pretty common. A really good and cheeky tripwire is this right here. You can do this on both the sides, I believe. Yep, you can do it on both the sides. Another really good tripwire is this. I've been using it for the past 3 or 4 months or so. Is this tripwire. but you need to be very careful while placing this tripwire, because there are some times that the tripwire only comes till here. And the good part about this tripwire is anyone that tries to walk here gets detected by this metal part of the tripwire, whereas if the tripwire only comes till here, they don't get detected and they can just walk past and renders that tripwire useless. So that's one of the good tripwires. Moving on to one ways, there's a one way from heaven onto A main, and it's a one way that people in A heaven can play towards A main. For that, you need to come right here to this flower pot area, flower podium, whatever. Look at this leaf right here, and you want to look just outside the leaf, like around here or so, and then place your crosshair there. And then you want to look up at this A, and at the A you want to throw your cage when your crosshair is at the middle of the A, and it should look something like this. And if you detonate it, it should be like this. It's not a complete one way, but it does offer a good chunk of one way space that you can probably get a kill. Another one way being this, for aggressive A main pushes, you want to come to this fourth mark right here. You want to crouch, look at this spot right here, this spot, and throw your cage. It should land right there, and if you ever want to play aggressive in A main, you can activate this and you can play your one way from here, or just stand and play your one way from A main. Another one way, and the last one way that there is right here. It's for sight. You can come hug this wall right here and just throw your cage. It is the easiest lineup. You can throw it from anywhere apart from there, obviously, because I'm dumb. That's the one way, and please note that this one way is for A main and not hell. If you're trying to face someone in hell, they have complete vision of you and you have to be really careful. You activate and then you can play it from here. Anyone that comes out of A main should be an easy kill for you. That's all for the Cypher setups on Split. Hope you guys managed to learn something from these setups, and the one thing that I advise all you Cypher mains out there is to mix and match tripwires rather than copying the setup outright. Cypher setups for Fracture will be out within the next week. Hope you have a wonderful day, and peace.